Yay! Just 1 second. It'll tell you.
I'm gonna apologize if I'm like kicking people. My hip flexors need me to like lean back and stretch out.
Whoops.
Okay. We will have to test this and see how the
Marathon.
audio is.
Course. Crap. Try to get this in over here. Yeah, it's harder on Facebook Live because like Twitch has horizontal and this one's all vertical. Yay! Hi, this is Coach MK coming at you live from the New York City Marathon in New York. And I wanted to talk to all of my athletes. This is one of those times of the year when I'm literally all over the place. I've got clients everywhere, and trying to keep them all in a silo is relatively useless. So I work with Lifetime Run and Another Mother Runners Train Like a Mother Club. That's lifetimerun.com and www.trainlikeamother.club. I have a whole bunch of people here getting ready to run the marathon. None in the 5K this morning, thank God, because that rain was not nice. But I wanted to do a couple of things with this Facebook Live. Number one, I wanted to, my face is totally cut off, yay. No, the first thing I wanted to do is explain what these pre-race conversations look like. More often than not, I do a lot of these with Another Mother Runner. I do them more so than I do with my clients through Lifetime Run, and there's always this expectation of what this conversation is going to be, where it's like, hey coach, what's the game plan? Let me guess, mile 1, 8:18, mile 2, 8:26. Like we're just going to math it out and plot this course, and the marathon just does not work that way. And I feel like I do more harm than good when that's the expectation of people coming into these conversations. They're like, you didn't do your job. I'm like, are you freaking out? Have you been running for 20 weeks? And yeah, I did my job and you did yours. Let's calm down. So this is one of the elite runners that I train. Her name is Rebecca Meyer. She's also my manager at Lifetime and the national head of run training for Lifetime Run. And this over here is her mom, Mary Walter. Yay! And this is the first time that I'm aware of that I've gotten to train like a mother-daughter duo for the same race. This will be the second time because they ran Twin Cities together, and they both qualified for Boston, and we'll be running Boston together in the spring. To give you an idea of how strong a runner Rebecca actually is, and to give you a little perspective before we go into our pre-race talk where I tell her kind of set our expectations for tomorrow, and then talk through the course. And both of these conversations, if you're planning on running, if you think about working with the coach, if you're running at all, both of these might have a little value for you. But here's some perspective on Rebecca and how unholy fast she is. She walked a lot of Twin Cities and still qualified for New York, which, by the way, to qualify for New York, it's about half an hour faster than qualifying for Boston. Think about that. She was running so fast she was able to stop and walk for a couple of miles and still qualify for New York. Mind-boggling. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Yay. How are you feeling?
A lot better than I did at Twin Cities.
Yay! I bet.
Start.
Pretty much. I know this isn't the conversation we wanted to have when you got into New York, and I know that this isn't going to be the race that you thought it was going to be this time last year.
Right.
That said, no matter what happens, the thing to remember, at least for me, and this is the perspective that I will always have on you as a runner, when you came to me initially, you were like, in the same year, I not only got hit by a car, there was this cancer thing that happened in my family. It was kind of a big deal. And then I had a baby, like all at the same time. So my body's been through a lot. I didn't really train for it. I just showed it to Boston. I was like, I'm not going to miss it. It was the year after the bombing. And I ran it on no training in 2:59. I'm like, wait, so you got hit by a car and then kind of just like forced your way through a marathon sub 3. Okay, imagine what we could do if you were healthy. Imagine what you could do if we were trained and like picked up a weight. Just one weight, but like a weight. Like how good could it possibly be? So you've also, the biggest change for me prior to Twin Cities was the way when we think about, and you being a coach as well, I know this is the thing, when you think about whether or not a person is coachable, to me it's a measure of how many times in a conversation they say no. Right, so because the client always has to set the path. They're like, we're trying to get to this race with this goal or this finish time. And it's like, okay, well, to get there, we're going to have to do this, 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 and this. Okay, and then if I get no, 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 and no, you've just kind of put me out over a hard place. But it's not intentional, right? When we're younger, like when you were running for, Coach Vigilante, Alamosa, right? You didn't have kids, and you didn't have a husband, and you didn't have clients, and you didn't have managers. years. When you think about all of the things that really get in your way now, that really just kind of mess up sleeping through the night or going for a morning run, none of those things existed 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So they're wonderful blessings to have in our life now, but it's not just about the running as much as it is about navigating life. And at first, when we were getting ready for Twin Cities, you had some injuries. So like navigating those injuries required time you didn't really have, and frankly, quite a bit of money at a tight time. So all of that just to say that it's like from what you needed 2 years ago versus what you need now, it's just a night and day difference. You remember how many you told me how many days a week you legit run?
I think it was 3 when we started. Mariana was 6 months old.
Yep.
And eventually we got up to 4.
Yep.
That 5th day kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
Then eventually we got to 6 or 7 until this fall got a little rough.
Yeah, but no, I mean, that in and of itself is huge. Like, everything I've said now, it's like, hey, Rebecca, I really want you to call Dr. Davis. Okay. Hey, Rebecca, I think let's talk about, I know you don't want to talk about your vagina. I don't really want to either. But could we pretty please see a pelvic floor PT? Because sometimes I want to just rule that out as a cause of what's going on in your hips. And you're like, okay, I mean, let me tell you, that is a big deal. What?
Nothing. Remember, I am not a stand, so the longer this goes on, my arm is.
26 miles.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that I'm like literally this is the bad shoulder. So I'm just saying. When you think, let's get it on a trajectory to be under 30 minutes.
Okay, there we go.
Because
Now, props to my wonderful patience.
I mean, I'm gonna try. Don't worry, we'll get there quickly.
Long-suffering husband for having like not only put up with Twitch in the household, but put up with like all of these calls all the time. I feel like he could probably like lead a pre-race call at this point. He's had here so many of them. So when I anyway, like the person you were, we've never fully like been in like situation actualize or realize your full athletic potential. And we might not still be doing it tomorrow, but that doesn't mean it's gone. It just means hey, we got to figure out this angle and we got to figure out this hill. And those are going to be the 2 things leading the way tomorrow. Knowing that you threw your whole body through the Boston Marathon, not really ready to run it, is still like dealing with a lot of legit physical trauma.
Right.
I would say you could do that again. I'd rather you didn't. I would rather you, if you're gonna wreck yourself, just put on those blinders and be like, I feel nothing to the finish line. I would prefer that didn't happen. So like realistically, after the turnaround in the Bronx between mile 20 and mile 21. Really though, that flight up First Avenue right before you get into the city, when you can see that ahead of you, that's around mile 21 and a half, and you can see that Fifth Avenue starts to climb again. Mentally, that's when I want these blinders to go up and go into that mode. And you're not either way, and this is the thing to remember while you go into that mental hole of pain, because it's going to hurt. You are not going to run for about 2 months after this race either way. Go out in a blaze of glory. And I don't give that instruction to very many parties. It's probably going to be 2.
Also, make sure the people on Twitch can hear you.
Can they not?
I don't know. Just tell them if they can't hear you to type something in the chat or something.
If y'all can't hear me, type something in the chat. I'll go back and look at all the comments later. But for now, I just wanted you to see like how this conversation is going to go, and then we'll switch gears a little bit when we start talking through the course itself. So yeah, knowing that this is going to take you out for a while, you'll still be ready for. The thing is, you're strong enough now that I'm not worried whatsoever about you turning around from this, recovering, and then it won't take really 8 weeks to get you Boston right. And if Boston is good, it'll be way better than the day. But all you need to do is not make the ankle considerably worse.
Right.
But we also don't have a specific diagnosis that would have me worry. If I was worried that like you could go out in a blaze of glory and take out your ankles completely, that instruction would be different. But since all the big bads are kind of ruled out, it's like it just needs to cooperate, and it'll be fine. The hip, the same thing. I mean, you still walk a lot of Twin Cities and qualify for New York. Like that is no small feat. I mean, what was your time there again? 3:10. Yeah. And I mean, so when you think about it, I ran a 3:10 on suboptimal training, practically no strength work, needing a PT desperately, and walked the whole lot. Imagine what we can do healthy, and that's kind of rather than worrying about a time or a pace, just you know what to do. You've got nothing to prove. Other than the only thing you're trying to prove really is to me that you can exercise restraint until you get to mile 21 and then show me the Rebecca that tore herself out of Boston. Okay. Mary, same thing, your turn. How are you feeling? You want to hop around here? Everybody can see you. Yay!
You want me to trade?
I'll just go over here. think we still need to like sit together a little bit better.
Well, we're not going to get you in the wide enough angle anyway. But.
That's all right.
You want me to swap?
No, that's okay. If you just want to get a little closer and sit together so I can see both of you. Yeehaw! Okay. Yay, mother-daughter. I love this. All right. So now, when it comes to New York, this is your second marathon. Fourth marathon. Just get that. So prior to Twin Cities, what did you run before this?
Just Twin Cities.
That's amazing.
10 or more years apart.
Yeah, every 10 years I would run one.
And how do you feel about your preparation now as opposed to for Twin Cities this past year? You ran really strong. What was your finish time?
4:15.
4:15. How old are you?
64.
That's amazing. 4:15 at the age of 64. I love it. I love it. So there is. I like to tell my runners a lot. Like we like to talk about genetics and having genetic advantage. Jesus definitely loves the two of you. That is for sure. But for most people, it's like, oh, I just don't have the genes. It's not about not having the genes. But sometimes when you do, there's no denying it, and I love that it runs. Like this clearly runs in your family, and that's just the neatest thing to see. I feel like from your numbers, if we were to be having the sort of conversation that runners expect, where we just map it out and say, "This is what I've done the calculations, and here is the future," which obviously it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I mean, you have it in you to break 4, and I feel like whether that every time, every step you take in a marathon, you're making a bet. And I know that you're not necessarily a betting type. I'm guessing like poker isn't what you do in your spare time. Even at the church bingo, maybe it's as wild as you get with betting. Yeah.
Turkey bingo.
Yeah, turkey bingo. Okay. Well,
It's pretty good.
the way to think about the marathon, or I mean, not that this is your first, but the way I tell most people to think about the marathon is that you're making a bet with each step that you take about what the end is going to look like and feel like, both in speed and effort level. And I would rather you make a conservative bet earlier in the race than later in the race. And one of the things that I like about this race so much and about this course is that it takes away a lot. Where if you look at it appropriately, it takes away your ability to make a bad decision. Think about the biggest bad choice everyone makes in most marathon situations is going out too fast. You can't go out too fast because you're going up a slope of almost 6.5% up the marathon overpitch. So you're not going to be wearing a watch. Or did you find a Timex?
I have a Timex if you want me to wear it.
I don't really care. I don't think you need it. I just want you to have that feeling of being absurdly slow in the beginning, like so slow that you almost kind of question, do I need to pick it up? And that is something to resist. If ever that thought is in your head, I'm behind, that is your ego getting ready to talk you into a really bad choice. And I would rather you make bad choices after you get back to your hotel room in the mini car than during the race itself. And if you do, you don't ever have to tell me. The story I'll tell myself. Mary went back and got into the whiskey. It was amazing. Good stuff. I do think you'll be a little bit faster than Twin Cities, though. I think because it'll be a little disorienting for you to be in a totally new place with all of the changes and all of the scenery. If the weather's good and it's supposed to be really good tomorrow, oh my God, it's going to be hard not to rubberneck at every single turn because it is such a cool course and a cool race. But I do expect to see you. This is the first time you've done one marathon after the next, if I understand it correctly. So I do.
10-year break.
Yeah. So I mean, it's reasonable to expect that this one will be a little bit faster than the last one, despite the fact that this course is considered to be. I roll my eyes. Facebook can't see me rolling my eyes while I say this, but it's considered to be more challenging than most courses. I just don't think that's fair. I think that's fair if you're talking about a professional marathoner that's trying to hold on to one pace or fight tactically all the way through the race. Like, yes, if that is a very hard thing to do. But if you're just going like, hey, I ran a marathon, it was pretty fast. I'm about to run another marathon, and I'm trained, and it's good. There's no reason why you wouldn't be a little bit faster as long as you're making good bets and good choices pretty much at every turn. So, did you have any big questions before I start hopping into the ins and outs of this course in particular?
I've been told by physicians that I use an inhaler because I have asthma.
Okay.
She said it will raise my blood pressure.
Yes.
She said, so either you take inhaler and it raises blood pressure, or you don't, which is a good choice. I mean, like during the race, I would definitely take it. But during, she said, I didn't take it.
Yeah, if you it, take it.
Okay.
I'm also not a medical professional, so it would be illegal for me to be like, I don't think you'll be fine. Or do it half an hour before, but never after. I would say if you feel like you need it, trust that judgment and take it, and don't worry so much about the heart rate count. Which is not to say like heart rate doesn't matter, but again, you're fit enough that the spike in an unfit person with an inhaler, I've seen it go up like 30 beats per minute and not come back down. I know that there have been some runs where you have taken your inhaler, and I couldn't have picked it out in the data from looking at your training peaks. So with that in mind, you're fit enough that I'm not worried, but you take it when you need it, and don't worry about, like, I don't think that's going to make or break your race. So for just about everyone else, I like to give them the warning about, antihistamines. Take it the night before and drink a lot of water because we have to get up so early, and that's more mitigating factor for people when they show up. Right before the race starts, they take an antihistamine, and then it dries out their sinuses, it dries out their body. Now they're really, really thirsty, and they're working really hard, and it's a terrible combination. But when it comes to something like an inhaler, take it tonight. The things people forget to tell me are kind of amazing, but there we go. Yes, take that tonight. It'll be good. And drink a little extra if you have noon. Drink some before bed. If not, come to our hotel. My husband walked out with like 9 tubes of it. Are you okay, babe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you have that look on your face of like.
No, it's okay.
Okay. I love you.
30 minutes trajectory.
Okay. How do I open this up? Oh wait. I think I know you.
Getting a little warm too.
Yeah, it is getting warm in here, right? I mean, let me tell you, back in my day, 20 years ago, it was never like this on Marathon Day. I mean, I don't know that global warming's something we can stop, but I tell you what, it did not. It was like we would come out and be like in the blankets and the foil from the last time we ran the race. And
Warm looks good.
I'm kind of excited to be. If you're one of my runners, by the way, I will be at the finish line in the grandstands on runner's left. Turn to me and wave. There's one of me and a whole lot of you, so it's on you to look for me. Yay! Please do that. I can't wait to see you all. So these are the bigger thoughts, the higher level thoughts. Let's put this back on me. Higher level thoughts to have about the New York City course itself. So this is the greatest marathon on the planet, hands down, period.
I'm not convinced anybody can hear at all on Twitch.
Oh really? Are they saying anything in the chat?
Nobody's saying anything in the chat, but which indicates to me they might not hear you at all.
Well,
but it's okay. Keep going.
That's how, okay.
Yeah.
We'll do the best we can with what we got then. All right. So hey Jen, how are you doing? I hope you're as excited for tomorrow as I am for you. Hey Veronica. Yeehaw. All right. So when it comes to the course itself, the course is rumored to be a positive slip. All that means is that there are some hills and you need to be strategic about your energy conservation throughout the course of the race. You need to do that in any marathon anyway. Here at least the hills are extremely obvious. That first mile, you've got that huge uphill of the Verrazano Bridge coming out of Staten Island. And like I said, this is a great opportunity when you see that, when everybody else is like, oh man, or getting worried. I want you to lean into that and make a good decision. Because everyone's worried about losing time. I'm behind. They're going to start this race out, agitated, nervous, heart rate through the roof, be like, I see it. And it's a mile-long bridge. That's another thing. There are two big bridges. The bridges here are not short, and both are an optical illusion. I love that you're taking notes, and I wish everybody would take notes when I speak. That's why you're my favorite. I mean, I swear to God, you two are my favorite. I love you so freaking much. Oh my God, you see this? She's like, this is what Marianne is doing right now. Just take it like that's, I love you, I love you. All right, everybody's going to be like on the side trying to take your selfies, and that's so like less than
LA, right?
Yeah, that'll be your corral in wave three. Wave three, everyone's going to be taking selfies the whole race. Some will be running with a selfie stick. You'll probably be in there with the dude that's dribbling the basketball and the juggler. And you should try to get a selfie with those dudes for sure, because like it's ridiculous what they do. At the same time, like when you're going for a personal record and trying really hard, obviously you don't want to stop and take selfies because it's a once in a lifetime experience. So give them grace. Try not to curse at them. That'll be easier for you than it will be for you. But yeah, you can't think about maintaining pace, and you just got to focus on that effort. And remember, at any point, if you start to think I'm behind, that is not a good choice. It's not a good idea. That should be the cue for my voice to respond in the back of your head saying, no, I am right where I need to be, because you are. From there, when you start to go down, don't try to make up time. We don't do that till much later in the race. We try to get time back later on. This is not cross country, this is not the steeple, this is not a 5K where we need to get it back right away. Like what you lost going up to get back going down, we got lots of time to get it back, so we got to bank energy, not time. And you're going to be able to do that for the next 10 miles because basically as you go smooth sailing along 4th Avenue, it's totally flat, a little bit of downhill that's going to feel like a downhill, or rather it's flat that feels downhill, which is unusual and rare, but also everybody's out in full force. Brooklyn loves this race. I have friends that don't run at all, that every single year are on Facebook being like, who's running? We're going to watch. And they do, and it's amazing. So, but mainly I think it's because they can't actually go anywhere. They can't leave Brooklyn, so they come out and cheer, and I love how they just sort of lean into that. So that's going to be that's the experience you're going to have. But don't get carried away, and do mind your pace and your heart rate, and make sure that you're not out of control. The key early on in the race is, again, it's not to be like, what is my pace, what is my one magic number, as you know. It's just like, we need to be avoiding, that is not a good idea territory. You're not, if you look down, because you're having a great day, and you look down, and you're like, wow, I'm running 8-minute miles. That might be a little too fast for this event today. Like I said, breaking 40 is possible if you play your cards right, but that's the bet we don't want to make in the beginning of the race about what the end is going to look like. We don't start making bigger bets until we've gotten to about mile 16 in this race specifically, which means we'll be across the bridge back into Manhattan, but we're not there yet. So we're not in bet-taking territory until we've left Greenpoint. And then mile 13, right after you cross the half-mile marker, is the QBE Expressway ramp. And that ramp is 2 years in a row. I fell going up it because there's this nice little bodega nearby where they like to hand out bananas, and the kids like hand out oranges. And when this will be less an issue for you, but by the time wave 3 gets there, the ground is going to be sticky and messy. And you just got to like look up and be like, ooh, halfway through, yay! And then look down and avoid that mess. So this is one of the reasons why I've said I'm not going to run the New York City Marathon again until I'm fast enough to be back in wave 2, because I never want that experience again. So just be careful. And the bar to get out of out of wave 3 is roughly 4 hours. Just FYI. So yeah, sorry Mary, you're really fast. You're a 64-year-old. Unfortunately, you're still in wave 3. So knowing that, watch the ground. This won't be a problem again until we're about to enter the Bronx. So from mile 13 to 15, that on-ramp is terrible, but again, it's only about 0.2 miles. So be ready mentally. It's the sharpest slope you will see in the race full stop. It doesn't even show up on the elevation map, though, because it's so short and so little. So just be mentally ready to almost walk it. I mean, not literally, but you're going to go really. It's not less than a quarter of a mile, like 0.2, 0.2 of a mile.
At what mile?
Right around 13.7. So right before the fourth, as you cross 13.1, you'll see it, and then it'll be on you like that. Then as you drift away from there, use mile 14 to kind of like dial back and recover. Again, it's flat. Walkers by this point are going to be everywhere for you, and you'll be dodging the Walking Dead from there until the finish line coming out of wave 3. The good news is the roads get big and wide once we leave Brooklyn, and all the Walking Dead will be to the side, and you won't have to dodge them like this, like you're in a video game, like you will for the first 14 miles. So miles 16 through 19 is Mile 14 is when you're going to be, after you get over the QBE, that's when you get on the bridge, the 63rd Street Bridge, to come into Manhattan. Now this is an optical illusion, and if you're running this tomorrow, take heed. The bridge gets everyone. Here's the problem with the bridge. That bridge is 2 miles long. 2 miles long. Hear me now. It crosses over Roosevelt Island. What happens is people get on the bridge, they get really excited. They're like, hey, I can see the other side. It's right there. Hey, I can take a selfie. Meanwhile, what they're seeing is the first bit of water to Roosevelt Island. Right? They're not actually seeing the other side. They're seeing Roosevelt frickin' Island. And they're confused. Why am I still running up? I should be coming back down. So it's a full mile up and a full mile down with this bridge. So don't forget that. Like when you see that first bit of water, you are not done. It's an optical illusion that gets everyone, and they go too hard and too fast. Get on that bridge and settle in. It is 1 mile up and 1 mile down. Back off as you go up that bridge, and then try to just sit into it and don't make a really bad choice to recover as you go down the bridge. People will be walking up that bridge. That's another place you're going to see Walking Dead everywhere. It won't be as bad for you. It'll be a disaster for you. Once you get through this though, and you get into Manhattan, you are home free, and you will not have another bottleneck. So mentally, just prepare yourself. All I got to do is get through this. Once I live through this, I'm in the promised land, and it's going to be not fine, but better. So yay for better. The other surprise people get is there is a wall of sound that meets you as you come back into Manhattan, and it is going to give you a boost like nothing you've ever felt. You'll hear the cowbells for a good like quarter mile before you can actually see a human, and it's amazing. So ride that wave, and remember this. Mile 16 through 19, roughly, I think what here. 16 through 19 is the ascent. That's what they call it, the First Avenue ascent, for obvious reasons. Here's the thing to remember. You've run Twin Cities before, you've run it before. This is not as steep as Twin Cities. Right, Twin Cities is more steep for those 3 miles than Manhattan, but people aren't usually expecting it, and it's 3 miles long, so it feels like 3 miles of uphill. It'll suck a little bit out of your soul. This is the time to kind of sit back, relax into it, except that if I back off for a minute per mile for 3 miles, but have energy in the end, that's just 3 minutes. I can get 3 minutes back. If you go out too hard and make a bad bet and have to walk it, that's now 18 to 20 minutes that you've lost. All right, the whole name of the game is to not walk, I would rather you just slow down. Okay, and that goes for all of you. Every time you stop to walk, it's harder to get started again. The failure point in runners are your ankles. Once the muscles in your ankles get tired, you're done. And they're going to get increasingly tired when you make that switch back and forth from walking to running and back again, all right? So it's easier to slow down and jog, I don't care how tired you are, than it is to walk, recover, and go again. So from there, once you've kind of gotten into the Bronx is like the funnest part, in my opinion, of the race, because you got the churches that come out and sing, and you got the kids that are like, woo, 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 and it's amazing. Like that, like, it gets lively again in a way that you won't see from Brooklyn onwards. I mean, there's still like lots and lots and lots of spectators, but when you're in the neighborhoods that really take pride in the marathon comes through here, it's a super cool experience. So be sure to take all that in, and it starts around mile 20. You'll know you're gotten there when you go through the goose station around the mile 19 marker, and when it'll be fine for you. For Mary, it's like just trying. It's terrible. It's like walking through a big pile of glue. And it's going to be, and the sticky sound mentally, it's the hardest part for me, because it's like every time you lift your foot off the ground, and it takes about a mile. So my 2 cents on the way to do it is to hold your water while you go through the goose station, and then just sort of like make a puddle on the ground, stomp through it to get the goo off, and then keep running. And that's how I've dealt with it the past couple of years. Yeah. So the water comes first, then the goo comes. So you're going to have to hold your water for like a quarter of a mile, but it's worth it just to wash some of the stickiness off your shoes after you've gone through the great goo puddle, because runners are trash and they miss the cans. And it makes me so mad. If you're one of my runners, you put that goo in the trash can. Come at you if I see you doing that, disrespecting this city that way. You are the reason that this race is so expensive, by the way. Every time you throw something on the ground, remember that. Ugh. It's not everybody else, it's you. So, mile 20 and 21, they're short and twisty. You got 2 bridges as you're coming through the Bronx, and then turning around to come back. And this is the point, remember, when you go through that second bridge, coming back from the Bronx into Manhattan, that's when you are allowed to drive your wheels right off the wagon, put those blinders on, and do what most of my runners will work for ages to get to the point of being able to do, which is just do nothing but run and block the rest of the world out and get to that finish line as fast as you can. For you, Mary, you need to hold back just a little bit, because your daughter was a national champion steeplechaser for a while. Hills are what she does. They're fun. Most of us, with all the hill training, still don't come alive on hills the way that steeplechasers do. So I want you to remember, you've got one more big ascent, and that's, so like First Avenue, you ascend it this way, and then Fifth Avenue, you ascend it again. It's really unfair, this whole city, how it was designed. So, but once you've come up Fifth Avenue, and you've entered the city at the Engineers Gate, which is around, I think it's 92nd Street, you're good to go. So once you've entered the park, and that's right before, that's between the mile 22 and 23 marker, That's like all you got to do is get to the park, get to the park, get to the park. That is your mantra for mile 22 as you leave the Bronx. Get to the park, get to the park, get to the park, get to the park. Once you've gotten to the park, yay, you're home free. That is the last time you will see walkers, and there will be tons of them between you and the finish line. Do whatever you got to do, bob and wave, get past them as quickly and efficiently as you can to get to that finish line as quickly as you can. The best place to get time back will be as you come back out, as you exit onto Park Avenue, Central Park South, that long straight stretch, that twist, before you twist back into the park and make a dash for the finish line. So that's what this race, high and low, that is going to look like. But yeah, you get permission to do what most people don't, which is like run the wheels totally off the wagon, because I know you can and I know you will. And remember, it's worth it. If there's any party that's kind of doubting it, I'm not going to be able to run for 2 months either way. Might as well go out in a blaze of glory. Might as well. That's your mantra. Might as well. Might as well. Yay. So those are all the places where I have seen people make really bad choices. It's not being mentally prepared for the uphills when they come, and those are all no one talks about the QBE being terrible. I will talk all day about the QBE Expressway being terrible. That entry point is horrifying. The Fifth Avenue, I jokingly call it the Fifth Avenue mile. It's not a full mile, but it feels like it. That always takes people by surprise, because if you're looking just at the elevation map and not talking to a coach, then that's been there and does this and loves this race so much. Like some of my best performances have been here, not time-wise, but feeling-wise, because it's the coolest experience you will ever have. The New York Roadrunners really know what they're doing, and they pull out all the stops. The city embraces this marathon, and if you were going to do one and never do another one, it should be the marathon in New York City. So, do you have any more questions? That's the highs and lows of the New York City Marathon. Of course, if you're running tomorrow, good luck. If you are just wondering kind of a little bit about this marathon thing, or think that maybe the next time you run you want to have a coach, yay! I do that. Rebecca doesn't want to, and I can't blame her. She has better things to do. But you can check out what we do at www.lifetimerun.com or www.trainlikeamother.club. So those are the two best options. I, generally speaking, as recommend that my women go through trainlikeamother.club, and my dudes come to lifetimerun.com, because you know what, dudes just don't, generally speaking, don't like to talk in Facebook groups, and women do. There you go. If there's no further ado, do you feel like you've got your race strategy? Do you feel mentally prepared, or do you need Yay! This is what being coached and loved is, and this is the conversation. It's never about like this is the pace number. It's more like this is what you've got to mitigate for the time that we're going to be out there. On a bad day, Rebecca ran a 2:59. I can't wait for her to see what a good day looks like. In her first marathon in a decade, Mary ran a 4:15. If the day is perfect, everything goes really, really well, and she doesn't make any bad bets, we can break 4. But this is one of those courses where there are enough uphills and enough twists and turns that is a really big bet to make on the Verrazano Bridge. I wouldn't really start making that bet and pulling away until you're leaving the Bronx and coming back into Manhattan around mile 21 and a half. So that's that. It's not, I don't know if this was as exciting or what you would expect a pre-race chat between a coach and an elite athlete, and we're coaching an novice to look like, but this is generally speaking how most of us approach it. I mean, if there's not like no magic 8 ball that's spitting out a number that everyone holds onto like a life raft for 26.2 miles. It's about knowing your body. It's about knowing how long am I going to be out there. The difference between a 3:45 and a 4:15 is really a couple of bad choices. It's just that simple. You go out there hoping for the best, make the best choices possible. It's not about like, I need to train to this time. You need to train smart. You need to get as strong as possible, and you need to work with what you've got and make your choices. That is the name of the game. That is the name of distance running. That is what endurance is about. It's about knowing how long you can endure this thing that you're feeling. And most people make really bad bets because they're not coached and loved and winning at life like all of you guys are, and definitely like you ladies. So, yay! If you download the TCS Marathon app, you can follow Jen Fujimayor. She's one of my runners through Another Mother Runner. I'll put D'Angelo is another one. I will put their names up on my Facebook page first thing in the morning if you want to follow them. If you happen to have the app open right now, take a look at Rebecca Meyer and Mary Walter, the mother-daughter duo I've been coaching for their second, and will soon be their 3rd marathon this year.
Don't forget to fall back.
What?
Fall back. 2 a.m.
2 a.m. That's right.
2 a.m. it becomes 1 a.m.
Yeah,
so
don't
fall back.
make sure your box. Yeah, well, change your watches, but like set your watch on your phone and you'll be good. Yay for that! Let me
That's
tell
what the Timex is for.
back in my day, 20 years
Worry if
ago.
it'll change or not.
Well, I had to travel with one of those silly little. I mean, in traveling, we didn't travel far for races. Like when Emma Coburn, they were talking about steeplechase, and she's like, "There are maybe 6 steeples a year." I'm like, "That used to be the marathon." I'm so old. Like we're traveling for a race. Who does that? But I also used to travel with this silly little Timex. I think it was a Timex with red letters that would kind of glow in the dark. And it never worked. I'm like, why? I refused to buy a new one. I'm just like changing batteries.
I think I had
the best. It was the
travel
worst.
alarms.
And I never remembered to fall back. Like people would remind me and be like, oh, I need to do that. And then I would just wait for the crowds. That was my cue. I'd sleep with the window up and you could always hear.
I'm getting the strong symbol they might be closed.
Are they closing?
Oh, we better
Oh, we're making faces. Thanks. If you're running tomorrow, good luck. I will see you on the Facebook pages. And if you're at the race itself, you will